Hey, it's Aaron, the Metal Theologian. So it's funny, I kind of don't know what the fuck I'm going to talk about today. It's not quite true, actually. I kind of have a little bit of a topic, but we'll see where this goes. I made that Blue Oyster Cult video, like the big, like, feature one, and that was supposed to be, like, sort of closing the chapter, like I've gone through that. So, I did that, I started, like, pulling out other records to listen to. I'm still listening to, like, 50-60% Blue Oyster Cult. Like, this is the biggest kick that I've been on since I first got into AC/DC when I was like 13. It's fucking crazy, man. Found this at the Walmart up the street of all places. I had to give it a shot. This is actually my first one. I didn't like pre-taste this, even though I got a 4-pack. So really have to like pour it into a glass and shit because of that trendy nitro shit. But honestly, I'm all over this kind of bullshit. You know. If it's some, like, obvious gimmick and horse shit, I'm pretty much gonna eat it up. It's weird, it isn't foaming up. I thought it was gonna foam up like the way Guinness does, or Boddington's. And I mean, it does. I mean, look at that head, But it's definitely not the same style of carbonation as that, And that was kind of the big thing that I was wondering about with this drink, was if it was gonna have that kind of, creamy consistency of like an Abbott Ale or something like that, as opposed to, the Pepsi. Oh, it definitely has that mouthfeel going on. It's still a different type of carbonation, but if you don't like the taste of like vanilla Pepsi, you're not gonna like this. But if you like that and you want to see what it'd be like with this nitro shit, something, it's fucking worth it, man. This is really good. It's almost like a float. It's not quite as creamy as that, Also, you're not dealing with as much fizz either. This is pretty well contained. But between the fact that it has that vanilla splash in there, though, along with the Pepsi, and the different sort of consistency of the carbonation. Yeah, thumbs up. I mean, the more of it I drink, the more it just kind of tastes like Pepsi. Or vanilla Pepsi, So, there's a little drop left. So yeah, record in particular I've been playing like fucking every day with the Blue Oyster Cult is this one. And it's funny because in a way this is like the easiest one for me to like not be into early on. Because it has like all the synth shit, the total 80s production, and it doesn't have the wackiness that Imaginos does. You know what I mean? Although this one, there's a lot of 80s-ness about this one that I could dislike. And I've been playing that one kind of a lot too. But this one in particular, man, like even the little things on this one, like the little bass fills on the song Shooting Shark, just sounds so dated, man. Everything about this does. And like it's loaded up with like, I mean, like not just the synthesizers, like the 80s style production, you know what I mean? Like the gated drums and shit like that. I think that's the right expression for when they like have to set up the noise gate so it cuts abruptly at the end. And like the song Let Go is kind of corny, is for being like sort of a stadium run, like Eyes on Fire really sounds like it could be a fucking Survivor song or something. In fact, this record overall, I just kind of figured this out about it. What this sounds like is like what a really good Asia record would sound like, It's funny, I was, I guess, testing this bit out with Eric Bauer before, but I like told him the same thing, and he was like, there isn't such a good thing as a fucking good Asia record, though, is there? And I was like, oh no, but if there were one, this is what it would sound like, But I've been playing this record sometimes twice a day, at least once a day, like for at least the last week. And like I had to go out and do some shit for a while before, and I had the song Shadow of California in my head the whole time. Like the chorus. Like when this record is on, it is really, really on. And when it's not on, it's still kind of lovable, man. I just fucking like the songs a lot, Like Shooting Shark. You know what I mean? It's like total fucking AOR too, man. I can give you 10 reasons to hate it, but I'm just fucking addicted to it. I messaged Chromie D about it too, because he laid it on really thick with Spectres with me. Like when I was fucking not really ready, before I really had my head around Spectres, I would hear from him like all the time, like, oh, so then there's this song, And he was right. Although I stand by my original assessment that Going Through the Motions just sucks. I can't believe that was actually a single. Such a fucking piece of shit. Late 70s, like that's... If you want to know what was wrong with rock and roll in the late 70s, like the things that like the punk rockers were really rebelling against, you know, the whole reason like Jello Biafra in the 80s was inclined to like write off the 70s in its entirety, you know, as a decade. If you want to know why, play Going Through the Motions off Spectres and keep in mind that it's a Blue Oyster Cult song. And that's what was wrong with the late 70s from a rock and roll standpoint. Anyway, so of course Chromie D was right though, because I love that record now. And like as I was listening to this one for like, you know, the 10th time in 3 days or something like that, I was like, dude, tell me the truth, this is your actual favorite record, right? And he was like, well, you kind of got me, it's my second favorite. Anyway, been obsessed with this record, you know. Fucking this Al Bouchard was gone. That's another thing to not like about this record. Yeah, I can't get enough of it, man. But right now we're listening to Shiva, actually. I've kind of been into this record, too. There's, like, probably as prog as, like, the new wave of British heavy metal got. You know, I'm generally pretty quick to say that there aren't a lot of good new wave British heavy metal LPs from the era. Which would mean ever, given that the era, or that the genre is defined by its era. Never mind. Seemed like a little redundancy there. I like to keep my language a little more tight than that. Yeah, anyway... You know, these guys are definitely going for kind of sort of a rushy, proggy thing, and if they had a big budget, this might have been really bad, but since they didn't, it's great, and it sounds sincere, and... You know, at first I thought these songs were kind of wimpy. I mean, like, shit like this with the fucking seagull sound effects and shit. Yeah, but I've really come to like this shit, you know? They're definitely not the heaviest band around, but, you know, if you can hang with a band like UFO, you can totally hang with Shiva. It's kind of a weird cover, too, isn't it? It's like this weird art style. You know, it's kind of like... If you said, yeah, we just have like a, you know, dancing Shiva, Nata Raja on the cover, then I'd be like, dude, come on, how fucking trite is that? People are going to think it's like a Lilith Fair record or something, you know? But this kind of succeeds. I still don't think it's a particularly good cover, to be honest with you. But I think it came out better than it had any right to, you know? So another band I've been really into is Triarchy. And I was kind of geeking out over Dawn Watcher last video. In a lot of ways, Triarchy is sort of the same aesthetic. Because, like, they're a 3-piece, but they kind of sound like a 5-piece. They have keyboards in them, too, like Dawn Watcher, but they're not, like, oppressive or anything, you know what I mean? I just did a little thing. I did a little research, and I'm going to show these books, I think, too. But, like, since I have a couple of these new wave British heavy metal books, too, I thought it might be fun to just sort of show those, because that's, like, what we did before the internet, basically. But, oh, where was I going with that shit? Yeah, anyway, I mean, I don't have a ton of information on them. There's a little bit of... There's a description of them in the book where they said that... there was like a guy who was really into like new wave in the band, and he like snuck that in, but somehow they managed to keep it like tasteful and like, you know, really good as opposed to you know, cloying and obnoxious. But anyway, this band only made 2 45s. I think they had one song on a comp too, but I could be wrong about that. This is off the first one actually. The A side is Save the Con, and the B side is Juliet's Tomb. But what I'm kind of really hung up on at the moment is the fact that Juliet's Tomb is the same song as Mongoloid by Devo. And I was thinking I could just like play this and talk about it, maybe go on a little rant or something. I think we're just going to play them side by side and y'all can decide. This is a weird synth sound, I mean. But you know what it is? It's like... I think it's the production that makes it sound weird. Like, if this were produced in a really sort of slick and glassy way, that synthesizer would be awful, because, like, that tone kind of has that quality, you know? Anyway, this is like another little section, obviously. Might as well show their other record while I'm at it. Yeah, this is the Metal Messiah one. Apparently both these had, like, some copies had sleeves. But they're a lot cheaper if you can do without the sleeves. So, it's funny, this one is an EP, right? It has 3 songs on it, but it plays at 45, which is normally cool because I kind of hate it when 7-inch records play at 33. But like the difference in the volume level, like the output level on side 1 and side 2 just kind of makes you laugh. There's 1 song on side 1 and then 2 on side 2. So like that's how they had to compensate because they're putting too much music on there and spinning it at 45. That they had to like bring the volume on it way down, or way down, I guess. But it's fucking hilarious. Hang on, I forgot something important. What am I gonna do without this bad boy here? There we go. Alright, so anyway, it was really that main riff. We're gonna like compare this, then maybe I'll throw in a little Metal Messiah or something, or maybe a little Blue Oyster Cult, or maybe I'll come up with something completely different to talk about. So, you got that opening riff in your head now? And I realize it's a little bit different rhythmically, and it might be a different key, but I'm busting out my Bougie Boy single. My Jocko Homo single. Is it the A side or the B side? I think it's actually the B side is Jocko Homo, and the A side is Bougie, is a Mongoloid. So, there you go. And I'll tell you something, these fucking Devo 45s are so much better than the album. Like, I don't really think Devo is all that great anyway after their first record. I mean, there's a lot to like. I'm not down on, like, you know, even like Whip It and shit like that. You know, I can totally handle that. But, like, the first record, for, like, obviously their best. And the 45s were so much better. And then, like, when those hardcore Devo comps came out, it was sort of like, oh, yeah, okay, that's the missing link. It's totally the same fucking riff, isn't it? That's Juliet's Tomb. And this is earlier, too, so you can tell if you ever, like, run into Triarchy on the street, you can be like, what the fuck were you thinking ripping off Mongoloid for Juliet's Tomb? You fucker. That's how much cooler this version is than on the album. Actually, since I've made the point, let's listen to a minute of Jocko Homo, because that one really sounds weird. If you've only ever heard the album version of this song, man, this is going to fucking blow your mind. I actually haven't played this record in a long time, and it's, you know, Devo is one of those bands that I've been into for so long that I just kind of take them for granted. You know, so I pull a record out like this, and I go, oh my god, I forgot how good this is. Jesus, you know? Classic 7/4 riff. That synth sounds so weird, doesn't it? A little bit about how they're from Ohio. It's Devo from Ohio. Yeah, these things weren't that hard to find when I got this. They used to turn up. So, it's not the, who put out that record? Was it on Sire? It's 45 isn't on Sire, but they had some decent distribution. They got themselves out there, so. They were doing something right. Oh, speaking of Spectres, right? So I was talking about that. Fucking that one's still sitting here too. You know, I put away like fucking 5 Blue Oyster Cult records before I made this video. So I was like, yeah, I'm really done listening to those for now. So fucking, I'll just put them away so I stop reaching for them. Maybe reach for something else, you know. But There's still a bunch here. This is a record I really go back and forth on. I feel I have this, I'm kind of curious what you think, because, like, it's a big step down. This is Heavy Metal Heroes 2 on the Heavy Metal label. And it's a big step down from Heavy Metal Heroes 1. Heavy Metal Heroes 1 might be the best full-length LP of the new wave of British heavy metal. That record is just so fucking good. Every single goddamn song on that. I kind of went on a big tirade on this on Marty's channel the other day, so I won't rehash that here. But this one, I hated it for the first time I got it. I actually got rid of it. And then, like, I mellowed some with age, and I got it again, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. You know? And, like, the last couple times I did, I think threw me off for a second. Anyway, yeah, like 2 times ago when I put this on, I was like, man, this is crap, dude. This is a bunch of fucking AOR shit, you know? And then I played it again a few days ago, and it's not bad. You know, it's really fine. It's just a huge step down from the first one, you know? Like that All Hell Let Loose comp that came out on Neat Record, the one that was that 60 minutes plus tape or something. That was a little bit of a step down from Lead Weight, I think, but not like step down from Heavy Metal Heroes 1 to this. Not at all. Actually, that wasn't really much of a step down. That's a bad example. Metal for Mothers 1 and 2. Metal for Mothers 2 was a step down from Metal for Mothers 1, but not like a really huge step. Actually, I think that's out here too, because I was listening to it not long ago. I think I talked about my last video though, so fuck it, I'll just let it go. Oh, here's another fucking record I pulled out. I pulled out the fucking Twinkies record. See, it's like I've kind of been flailing a little bit. Like, I've listened to a lot of these new wave of British heavy metal 45s. And the comps. But, like, I'm still kind of on the Blue Oyster Cult kick. I'm mostly off it, like, in my head. But I haven't really latched on anything else yet. So I keep reaching for that shit out of inertia. And out of the fact that I love the fucking records. But yeah, I keep like grabbing like one thing or another thing. I pulled up the Simply Saucer record at the same time I pulled up the Twinkies, because I turned on to them at the same time, you know. I was actually at a record store in, I was at Amoeba in San Francisco, and was looking for something that sounded like the Cleveland punk shit that I might not know. And the guy turned me on to both the Twinkies and Simply Saucer, and I actually bought them on CD. That was before that was in the 90s when I figured I wouldn't ever have a prayer of finding these kind of shit on record, you know? That's the other thing about the internet, is it made a lot of shit a lot more accessible, you know? Yeah, I think Cosmic Brian's kind of high on this band, too. Anyway. Some fantastic shit. Anyway, the Simply Saucer record didn't do anything for me at all when I pulled it out and put it on the other day. I was like, yeah, I don't feel like hearing this. The guy sounds like Billy Joel and I'm not in the mood for it, you know? But this like totally hit the spot. So I don't know, I've been in this weird place with the music. Might as well show this one real quick. There's another one I'm starting to digest. I'll like have to come back and do like a real review of this one later, but this green metal comp, I haven't like totally absorbed it yet, but it's pretty consistently heavy, and that's always a really good sign, right? Alright, so anyway, rather than blather on about that shit anymore, I was going to talk about the books. So I have a couple of these here. Like this one I actually won in a contest, so it can be worth entering a contest on YouTube. But this is the Martin Popoff book. This is actually the most recent one I've gotten. And it's not the most comprehensive or anything like that. He even kind of says at the beginning, he's like, oh, when I started writing this, I sort of started putting this together. And then like Malcolm McMillan's book came out. And this one was kind of immediately like overshadowed, you know, and it was going to stay that way. So here's as far as I got there. Not here's as far as I got, but here I finished it, but like the real shit is in Malk's book. So it's still fun to read though if you like Popoff's style, you know what I mean? He definitely, you know, likes what he likes, and won't necessarily follow the trends on certain things. Although he does seem to on other ones, and I don't necessarily get it. But I think it's just because he tends to like shit that's commercial. But if he doesn't like something, he doesn't make any fucking bones about it. If he likes something that's like out of the way. So anyway, it's fun for that, you know? But this is like the big one. If you're gonna get one, this is probably the one that you should get. This is the Thick Boy by Malcolm McMillan, and this is just like ridiculously comprehensive, and it has stories and shit like that. But you know, this one has as much information as you're ever gonna find on the subject. Yeah, it's 800 pages. So there you go. But like before either of those were available, like in the very early days of like the internet, when there was just a little bit of information here and there, this was the first thing that I was ever able to find. I actually got these two at the same time. There we go, look at that. New Wave of British Heavy Metal. The Glory Days, published by the Iron Pages in Germany. There you go. They even take the trouble and spell it with a lowercase o. And you know, this is in German. Unfortunately, I can read German, so I had that, you know, going for me. But, you know, this is just like these little things. I mean, a lot of this is just like the Raven and Saxon and kind of the top tier stuff. Although there's definitely like Marquis de Sade in here, and like I learned about the Satan singles existence from here, and this is broken up into two sections. I don't remember. Oh yeah, there's like the big one with like the features. This is broken into two sections. With the bigger ones where they have more information is in the first part, and then the second part is just like these shorter ones when all they could do is find a 45, you know. Like I think Mithra got put on too through one of this thing too. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit. And then this one was the follow-up, which sort of expanded on that one. And also just put everything all together, so yeah, so there was a time, when was this published? 1995. So like there's all the shit that I just read, like because of the fucking, in the later book and something else. But there's a time when that was all you would have known about Triarchy. You know what I mean? And that's basically just a review, a very short review, but just that tiny little bit. And that's for both their records. Triarchy from Kent were a cult, or were and are like cult. One of the few bands that used synthesizers at that time. And this circumstance made them really recognizable, even though it didn't bring them anything commercially. There's supposed to be a posthumous complete CD coming soon. Hopefully it'll be good. That's the whole review. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of a mistake to like over-romanticize the old days. Because yeah, it was cool that records were a lot cheaper in the 90s, you know what I mean? But it was so hard to get any information about this kind of shit. And even harder to find it a lot of the time, you know what I mean? On the other hand, there is sort of that aspect of the hunt that's kind of missing, you know what I mean? Like, when I first got into Misfits, the only information I had was what was on the records, which is, like, literally nothing, you know what I mean? Like, maybe their names. So, like, me and my friends used to make up our own stories about them, you know what I mean? Like, there's this... We had a story that I can't really explain without holding it up, but it involved the cover of Evil Live and what was going on there. I just like all these weird, dumb stories we'd make up, so we've kind of lost that a little bit, but I think it's probably worth it to have better access to this kind of shit because it's really good shit. So check out Triarchy. Who else have I talked about? Check out Bad Blue Oyster Cult. Check out Shiva, and check out the Twinkies. And thanks for watching. Maybe I'll be a little bit more focused next time. We'll see.